Hello, my name is John Smith. Welcome to the Psalming Effect. And I want to share some thoughts with you today from Psalm 119. And before I get to that, I just want to talk to you about the theme and what it is that makes this particular short reading special to me, why it speaks to me today. It talks about the psalmist and him getting up early in the morning to look at God's Word and to meditate and to make it the center of his life. And so I did some thinking about how that works in my life. As you know, I post these meditations on a weekly basis. I took a break over the summer, but I'm back to doing it regularly. I think this is my second, maybe my third year posting these meditations, and I'm going to keep doing it. I find it very beneficial for me, and I'm hoping those of you who find the time to take it in benefit from it as well. But what I was made to think about, and you'll see why when I read the verses, is my cycles of rest and my optimum time of brain and body activity during the day. And I guess what I'm taking the long way to get around to saying is I'm not a morning person. I'm not one that gets up early and does a lot of productive work before noon. That doesn't happen with me. My body, I can get up and do something really early if I have something to do, and can manage to do that now. And I've always been able to do that. Now at my age, if I do that, I probably will be looking to have a nap somewhere in the afternoon in order to make it all the way to the end of my day, which always goes pretty well close to midnight every time. But you see, for me, I really sort of wake up after lunch and into the afternoon. And if I have something really important to do, I'm going to function much better then, even in the evening. In fact, evenings are a great time for me. If I have a project to work on that I need to really exercise my thinking and my brain to do it well, I can work till the wee hours of the morning and very productively, very beneficially. And actually, I do that better than if I went to bed early and got up, at the crack of dawn and tried to work on those things. Just the way my body and my brain works, I would not be as productive that way. So, these are what the verses say that I'm reading from Psalm 119, verses 147 and 148. I rise before dawn and cry for help. I hope in your words. My eyes are awake before the watches of the night, that I may meditate on your promise. Now, obviously, that's being written by someone who gets up early and begins their day focusing on God, God's will, and God's Word. And that shapes the way they live their day. And if you're a morning person, that's a wonderful cycle to have. That's a good discipline to begin your day doing that. That'll work, especially if you're a person who wakes up and you're ready to jump into your day and be active and get going. Well, maybe get up a little bit early to take the time to do this and make sure you're focused on God and His will and His Word, so that your day is not just spent chasing the things of this world and on sort of the self-centered things that attract you, but that you first of all center yourself on God and His will, and let a little bit of His Word kind of shape the way you're going to tackle this day. And then, yes, you can have your busy, active day interacting with lots of people and doing lots of things, but you'll have a better focus. You'll serve God better. You'll serve others better, and you'll make the most of who you are if you begin your day that way. But many of you, some of you, may be like me. What will be more beneficial for you is to have a time out sometime in the middle of the day. In the middle of the day, when you can make a 15, 20-minute, whatever time period it is, to pause, take a rest from the busyness and the interactions, the work, whatever you're doing, and take that time to reflect, to read, to pray, to listen to God, to let the Spirit speak to your heart, to evaluate what's happening, to maybe try and see what the Spirit of God is doing in this day that you're in the middle of. You know, who have you been with, and who will you be with? What have you been doing? What will you be doing? And how has God been a part of that? Or how can you maybe open the door and let God be a part of that if you've been kind of distant from Him for whatever reason and whatever it is that you've been doing. Use that time in the middle of the day to refocus and to bring it back where it should be. Yeah, another cycle that might be more beneficial for you is to read, to pray, to look at God's Word, to reflect back on a whole day, and go to bed at night. Have that be the last thing you do in the day. And when you hit the pillow at night, and you've said goodnight to your spouse and your kids and anyone else that you need to, give that last piece of your day to God for reflection, maybe even read a bit from His Word, and go to sleep with that being the last thing that you do. Now, that'll work for someone who can do that. Not everybody can. Some people, they pretty much fall into bed and they're done. But if you're one of these people, and I'm one of these people, that I go to bed and I really need my brain to do something before I can sleep, or otherwise I don't fall asleep. I just lay in bed and my brain is going in circles, or I get up and I do something until my brain gets spent a little bit more. Well, the thing that I can do, and that I often do, is that I take that time to then communicate with God, to pray, or to take a piece of His Word and to wrestle with it and let it speak to my heart, or to look back on my day and evaluate, okay, what, oh Lord, were you up to today? And to try and identify God's hand and God's activity, God's will and God's work. I know the psalmist here says, I rise before the dawn, and my eyes are awake before the watches of the night. But I really don't think that's the important part of these verses. The really important part of these verses is, and cry for help, I hope in your words, that I may meditate on your promise. The important thing is that whatever our days look like, and whether we're a morning person or a night person, the important thing is that we spend our days trying to fulfill and being focused on the will and the purposes of God, and not just, frittering them away without meaning, or with meaning that is entirely self-centered, or that other people have stolen the agenda of our lives and are using us up for whatever purposes they have, and we might be pushed and pulled in all directions in that way. What will be really beneficial is if we can stay in daily connection with God's will and God's Word, and that shape how we live from day to day. That's what I think the psalmist is talking about. Figure out what your daily schedule is and where do you need to put this time of orientation, of reflection. I call my weekly meditation the psalming effect, because I'm drawing something from the book of Psalms on Monday, and actually I read the same section every day throughout the week, so that it has lots of time to soak in. People ask me, well, where do you come up with, how do you draw so much meaning out of so many places in the book of Psalms? Well, it's because I don't just read it once and then move on to the next one and then to the next one. I spend a whole week reading the same section, and that helps me. So anyways, again, we can talk another time about how you read God's Word, but I'm just talking about your cycles, and when it is in your day, you need to take time to reflect and to pray and to focus on God and invite Him to be shaping the way you live from day to day. And remember this, God's grace is for you in 2022.